Finest quality, madam. This batch is particularly potent.
Why medieval Europeans paid for buckets of human urine? Imagine this. Somewhere in medieval Europe, someone just handed over hard-earned coin for a bucket of warm, human urine. Not as a joke, not once, but again and again. And the strangest part? This wasn't a bizarre exception. It was routine. It was organized. It was profitable. And behind this seemingly absurd exchange lies a system so unexpected and, frankly, unsettling. It pulls back the curtain on a world we often fail to imagine accurately. Because in the Middle Ages, urine wasn't just waste. It was wealth. Every single morning, families across towns and cities gathered their chamber pots with care, not unlike farmers harvesting something precious from their fields. This wasn't some quirky pastime. It was a serious economic contribution that could keep an entire household afloat. Human urine was among the most in-demand bodily fluids in medieval urban life. Tanneries couldn't function without it. Fullers, those who processed woolen cloth, eagerly waited to purchase it. Fabric dyers paid real money for a fresh supply. Why? Because urine contains something incredibly powerful, natural ammonia. And in a time with no synthetic cleaners or industrial solvents, it was unmatched in its cleaning abilities. Public urinals? They weren't just about sanitation. They were revenue-generating hubs, designed to collect this golden resource. Special jars were placed at street corners, not for people's convenience, but to make sure not a drop was wasted. Every bathroom break was basically an economic transaction. Towns developed entire delivery and distribution networks just to keep up with the demand. Morning routes ran like clockwork. Freshness determined price. Yes, even in urine. The newer the sample, the more it was worth. Medieval urine markets had better quality standards than some of our food supply chains today. And what's truly wild, this wasn't seen as weird. This wasn't mocked. For centuries, entire communities treated urine not just as a resource, but as an industrial necessity. Even during times of famine or warfare, the trade continued. Craft industries simply couldn't function without it. So what made this humble yellow liquid so important? It all comes down to ammonia. Naturally occurring in urine, it's a powerful cleaning agent. It broke down oils, grease, and organic gunk better than anything else available at the time. That made it absolutely essential in the wool industry. Fullers soaked raw wool in urine to soften its coarse texture and prepare it for weaving. Without it, the rough fabric was too scratchy to wear. Leather workers, tanners in particular, relied heavily on a steady urine supply. It was used to help strip hair and fat from animal hides before they could even begin the tanning process. In fact, leather workers were the rare professionals who could ask for donated bathroom material and still be taken seriously. Textile dyers used it to fix and brighten colors. Urine helped pigments bind to fabric, ensuring that expensive dyes didn't wash out the first time it rained. Public laundresses used it, too, soaking soiled garments in urine to bleach and disinfect them. It was, in essence, the strongest fabric stain remover available, and completely renewable. Blacksmiths and metalworkers didn't want to be left out. They used urine to scrub rust from iron, clean surfaces before engraving, and prevent corrosion during the long and delicate crafting of tools, swords, and armor. You couldn't build weapons of war without a bit of pee in the process. The logic behind the trade was simple. Losing production time cost more than buying urine. Running out of supply could bring an entire workshop to a standstill. For a medieval craftsman, being out of urine was like a factory running out of electricity. Everything halted until new stock arrived. So, many shop owners made deals with multiple families to ensure a steady, daily supply. These were formal arrangements, essentially contracts for bodily waste. And for poor families, this gave them a chance to earn a few extra coins without spending a single one. These little arrangements weren't just odd, they were foundational. Urine created jobs. It circulated money. It supported workshops. And it even helped shape the reputation of towns. Those known for reliable urine markets became attractive centers for industry. But the story doesn't stop with crafts and commerce. It gets even weirder. Because in medieval medicine, urine was a miracle fluid. Physicians, yes, real, trained by the standards of the day doctors, used it as both a remedy and a diagnostic tool. You had a sore throat? They might suggest you drink your own urine. Got a wound? Wash it in warm pee. Boils, ulcers, rashes, infections. Urine was the answer. And this wasn't fringe or folk medicine. This was mainstream. Doctors truly believed urine could balance the body's internal fluids, known as humors. If your illness came from too much cold humor, then warm urine was thought to heat your body and restore balance. They weren't just metaphorically drinking their own medicine. They were doing it quite literally. Boiled urine became a standard treatment. Eye rinse, use urine. Ear drops, urine again. Wound care, urine wash. And strangely enough, ammonia did have some antibacterial properties. People noticed infections healing faster after urine treatment, not because they understood germs, but because they saw the results. Some desperate mothers even gave their children urine when herbs ran out. Travelers stranded without water were told to drink their own urine to stay alive. In medieval emergencies, your bladder was your backup plan. Quality mattered, too. Physicians insisted that only urine from healthy young adults was worth using. Sick people's urine was seen as tainted. Children's urine was thought to be too weak. Pregnant women's urine, sometimes believed to carry special healing properties for other women. There were guidelines, age limits, and even purity standards. Medical texts listed proper storage methods, temperature control, and specific mixing instructions. Some doctors had their own secret urine recipes that became known in their regions. Patients would ask for them by name. And beyond treating patients, doctors used urine as a diagnostic tool. Before X-rays, blood tests, or thermometers, they turned to color, smell, taste, yes, taste, and texture of a patient's urine to detect what might be wrong. Entire manuals were written on how to read and interpret it. Urine was the medieval MRI. In the medieval world, physicians examined urine with the same intensity and discernment that modern sommeliers reserve for rare vintage wines. They didn't just glance at it casually. They studied the hue with careful precision, leaned in to inhale its scent deeply, and, in some cases, went so far as to taste it. This wasn't random curiosity. It was a diagnostic art backed by confidence and conviction. To do this properly, they used a specialized vessel known as a matula, an elegantly crafted glass flask. designed specifically for analyzing urine. These flasks were so essential that medieval doctors carried them from house to house, much like modern-day physicians carry stethoscopes. At the time, these doctors were the only professionals paid to become true urine connoisseurs. Through a process known as uroscopy, they matched different shades of urine to specific illnesses using complex reference charts. Just one spectrum of yellow could represent 20 separate medical conditions. Pale yellow was believed to signal weakness or exhaustion, while a reddish hue pointed toward the presence of fever. And often, the odor revealed even more than the color did. These uroscopy charts became so exhaustive and intricate that aspiring doctors were expected to spend months committing the entire color scale to memory. A sweet scent in the urine might suggest diabetes, while a strong ammonia smell pointed in a completely different direction. Fruity aromas carried their own meanings. It was a kind of medical detective work that demanded not just sharp senses, but an unusually strong stomach. For those practicing medieval medicine, taste was the final and most decisive test. Yes, doctors actually sipped their patients' urine to verify their diagnosis. And this wasn't limited to the lower classes. From humble farmers to kings themselves, no one was exempt from what some jokingly referred to as the royal peast. Even aristocrats couldn't use their status to skip the process. While some wealthy individuals attempted to bribe their way around the tasting step, most physicians were firm. Every diagnosis required full procedure, regardless of wealth or title. Some doctors earned great fame based solely on their uncanny ability to identify dozens of conditions from a single urine sample. This practice became so routine that most people simply expected it when they summoned a physician. In fact, medieval universities took uroscopy so seriously that it was taught alongside anatomy and other essential branches of medicine. But the role of urine didn't stop with diagnosis. It extended into daily life in ways that would shock modern standards. In terms of hygiene and grooming, medieval individuals used urine in personal care routines most people today would find downright horrifying. They applied it to their teeth to whiten them or to combat gum infections. Dental care in those days often began and ended with the same place, the chamber pot. Aged urine, in particular, became a prized ingredient for hair treatment. Women frequently used it to lighten their hair or rid themselves of lice. The ammonia in the urine killed off parasites and stripped away the natural oils that attracted them. These treatments weren't quick either. Women soaked their hair in these pungent solutions for hours. In wealthy households, servants were tasked with collecting and aging the urine to the perfect potency, all for the sake of beauty. Some believed that urine held power beyond just cosmetic effects. People washed their faces with diluted urine to reduce blemishes or smooth wrinkles. Young men would rub it on their cheeks in hopes of growing thicker, fuller beards. When you compare these practices to today's skincare rituals, they make even the most bizarre modern trend seem mild. Back then, personal grooming with urine wasn't considered disgusting. It was seen as practical and intelligent. Soap was expensive, hard to come by, and often imported, so people simply made do with what their bodies produced. Even in upper-class homes, urine was kept on hand in case of soap shortages due to trade delays. And for some, urine use evolved into something far more spiritual than sanitary. A deeply rooted belief emerged that the urine of saints, virgins, and pious individuals held sacred healing properties, far more potent than that of ordinary people. And this wasn't dismissed as mere folklore. It became part of a structured spiritual practice that drove pilgrims to travel long distances just to obtain a vial of what they believed to be divinely blessed urine. Pilgrims often carried these small flasks like modern travelers might carry a protective charm or lucky talisman. To them, it was a form of spiritual armor. Monasteries documented incredible stories, tales of the blind regaining their sight, the paralyzed learning to walk again, all attributed to these blessed fluids. Religious rituals at times even incorporated urine as a symbolic cleanser. Folk healers swore it could exorcise demons or purge evil spirits from afflicted individuals. Word of these miracles spread like wildfire through villages and towns, igniting demand for saintly urine throughout entire regions. Some monasteries went as far as to log every claimed miracle, establishing a kind of quality assurance system for divine urine. Only those who remained spiritually pure, untainted by sin or broken vows, were allowed to contribute. If a monk had strayed from his moral path, his urine was no longer considered fit for healing. This created a new kind of spiritual economy. Holy individuals began charging high prices for their blessed urine. Pilgrimage destinations sold it like sacred relics. Some monasteries even relied on the profits from urine sales to keep their communities running. And the more renowned the saint, the higher the price, some commanding rates up to 10 times more than ordinary medical urine. This turned purity itself into a kind of currency, fueling quiet competition among religious groups for the most spiritually uncontaminated donors. To the medieval mind, urine wasn't merely bodily waste. It was something far more profound. It was seen as a divine signal, a sacred offering, a mysterious link between the earthly and the spiritual. In moments of fear and uncertainty, it became a vessel of hope. Spiritual urine stood at the intersection of belief and biology, medicine and miracle. In a time when survival demanded creativity, people managed to elevate one of the most ordinary substances on earth into something that shaped nearly every corner of their lives. Medicine, hygiene, religious ritual, even daily endurance. They didn't just use it, they revered it. Urine became a strange symbol of resilience, a reminder that in desperate times, human ingenuity can make even the most forgotten aspects of life feel like gold. And maybe that's one of the weirdest, yet most compelling lessons history has to offer. Sometimes, what we throw away without a second glance held immense value in the past. But here's something to really chew on. If someone collected your urine today, would it be seen as sacred or toxic? If you're fascinated by history's strangest truths, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Vassal Truths, where the forgotten past gets weirdly unforgettable.